Marketing is about values.
Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul.
When you have a product that really resonates with customers, the word of mouth grows like wildfire.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Max, you just came back, as you mentioned last week, from a trip to Europe, which I'm already jealous of. And then I learned that you got to go to the Ryder Cup, which I'm also jealous of because I'm a golf fan. For those of you non-golf listeners in the marketing world, the Ryder Cup is this event that is an interesting competition in the way that they score it, and it's team versus individual, but it's US versus a European team every 2 years. For those of us golf fans like Max and I, it's a lot of fun. But our point today is not to just break down Max's trip to Europe, but it is, as you were talking about your trip to the Ryder Cup, there was a marketing lesson from this sporting event that even those marketers who listen, who don't give a rip about golf, could actually learn from. So one, how was the Ryder Cup? And two, what is this story and what can we take away from it, man?
I honestly forgot we were talking about this today. I should be wearing my Ryder Cup hat since I spent like $1,000 at the merch tent. I expected to spend $2,000, but I
Okay,
spent,
so you came
like
in under budget still.
$950. So I was way under budget. Exactly. Ryder Cup is my favorite sporting event of all time. For those of you that don't know, I'm an avid golfer. I grew up playing golf competitively. I walked on to like the shittiest, lowest ranked Division I golf team, but I told myself in high school, no matter what, I want to play against the best, even if I finished in last place. I'd rather finish in last place against the best than finish third or fifth, runner up in Division II, Division III. That's just who I am as a competitor. And the Ryder Cup to me is the best because it takes traditional sports experiences like screaming during the game and making fun of the other team and just the team aspect in general, and it applies it to a very prim and proper
Individual
sport
in golf, right? Yeah.
right. So the school that I played at in college was in New York, and Bethpage Black, where they just hosted the Ryder Cup, was the home course for the Ryder Cup this year. Also, for those of you that don't know, the Ryder Cup happens every other year. It's the best of the European players versus the best of the American players. It's a 3-day event, team, obviously. And there's just a lot of history behind it because golf was invented in Europe, but most of the top ranked golfers in the world are American at this point. So it's kind of this like back and forth every other year. And I'd never been. And so I finally got to go. That's why I plan to spend a lot of money at the merch tent, because I was like, I'm going to be wearing Ryder Cup gear every day for the rest of my life. And this course that it was hosted at was my home course in college. So I played it a million times, just the experience of that whole thing. Anyways, the marketing lesson, sorry for the tangent, is that they host it in Europe, and then they host it in America, and then they host it in Europe. So it's in America every 4 years. So last week or 2 weeks ago, it was in New York. Next year, or in 2 years, excuse me, the next time the Ryder Cup happens, I believe it'll be in England. And then it'll be back here in the States. But the last time that the Ryder Cup was in America, the average ticket price was $250 per day per person. It's a full day event. All sorts of cool things happen there beyond just the golf, all sorts of activations and fun things. But it was $250 last time it was in America. This year, it was $750 per person per day. A 3x increase in ticket sales. Now, what happened? Number one, COVID, right? The rise of golf has drastically increased. The viewership of golf has drastically increased since COVID. A lot of people in the golf community say that COVID saved golf. It was an outdoor activity that you could do. You didn't have to wear a mask. It was 4 hours playing on a golf course is the average time it takes to
Okay, because you're far enough
golf.
away from people and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Exactly. But
Okay.
also it brought in a whole new kind of group, or as us marketers would say, ICP of golfers who are maybe not the prim and proper golfers who are going to wear, a shirt with a tiny little logo and their shirt tucked in. They're going to wear more loud clothes. They're going to be drinking a lot more on the golf course. They're going to be smoking a lot more cigars on the golf course, and predominantly younger. And so, they thought, okay, well, there's a lot more demand, first and foremost. Okay, great. There's more demand, obviously, marketing lesson, supply and demand. Number two, it's in New York. New Yorkers, the local people who are going to be showing up, have a typical higher income than a lot of the other places that it might be hosted, but
Right.
specifically sporting events in New York, tickets to a Yankees game, tickets to a Knicks game are much higher than they are in most other cities, even compared to Los Angeles, the other second biggest market
Maybe not
in
a
sports.
Jets game, but we're splitting 50.
Maybe not a Jets or a Giants game this year. But yeah, so that's the second thing. The third thing is the real marketing lesson. And so forgive me if you've been listening for 5 minutes and you're like, Max, get to the point. That is a friendly reminder to say, no matter the platform you're listening on, click below and subscribe, and click the link below to sign up for my newsletter. Join 180,000 people on my newsletter. But anyways, beating around the bush here. The real reason that they were able to justify, or at least they said they were able to justify the increase to 750, was that they made all of the food and the non-alcoholic beverages included in the cost of the 750 bucks. Now, I forgot that. I just bought the tickets because I was like, I'm a golf fan. This was my home course. This is my time to go to the Ryder Cup. 750. I would have paid way more to go
Yeah.
and experience that.
Yeah.
Especially because I was there on a Sunday and they were making what was almost the most historic comeback in Ryder Cup history, maybe even in sports history. We were down by 40 bajillion points going into Sunday, and we almost won. But I showed up and I saw a huge line for food, and I was like, man, there's this huge line for food. I don't want to wait in this line, but I'm hungry. But I saw it going really, really, really fast. And I looked at the guy next to us and I said, do you know why that line's moving so fast? He had been there all previous days before. We only bought tickets for the third and final day, final round. And he said, yeah, because it's free. So everyone just walks up, they grab what they want, and then they walk out. They don't have to punch in, okay, you got the chicken sandwich. Okay, you got this, you got that. And then, okay, punch in the credit card. Okay, and this person's drunk, and so they're fumbling their credit card. They forgot to pull out their wallet. Like the time to get the food
Okay.
and to get the drinks and the snacks, they had all sorts of bags of chips and cookies and everything just sitting there. You would just walk up, you picked whatever you want for food, and you can go back as many times as you wanted. And according to the PGA of America, which is the governing body that puts on the Ryder Cup in the States, they said that their research showed that not only were they able to justify the cost being in New York because Yankees and Knicks and everything else, as you said, not Jets, but those tickets are more expensive, but also they found that New Yorkers want an all-inclusive experience. And of course, they couldn't give all-inclusive alcohol. I actually was surprised that the alcohol was rather inexpensive. Like when you go to a Yankees game, I think a beer is like $25 and a alcoholic beverage, like a normal like spirit or drink is like 30, I think.
Wow.
But beers were like $12 and a regular, like my wife got a Bloody Mary. That was $19. I was like, okay, that's actually not bad for a sporting event at all. But they were able to justify 3x the cost for those three reasons. The third one being the most interesting. And I was thinking about this. I was like, what is a value add that I can give to my clients or of my agency or advertisers of my newsletter that would make the cost even more of a no-brainer, right? One of the things we do for our advertisers is if they spend a certain amount of money, we create a landing page for them and we A/B test it for them to maximize their investment with us. And we use a template that we've used across, at this point, hundreds of thousands of clicks. And it's a bulletproof template that has a much higher conversion rate than if they were to just build their own landing page or create a landing page on their own or just send people to their homepage. I was thinking what else I could add as a value add, like I said, for both my advertisers and my agency clients, because this concept of, okay, when like I go to Coachella almost every year. Well, a VIP ticket to Coachella is $1,200, but that whole weekend on the grounds is costing me probably all in like $3,000, maybe $2,500 because the food has a premium. You can't get like a dinner or a lunch for under $30. You're there for 3 days. Right. By the time you add the sides that you want for everything, and then the drinks are like $25, and you're going to have, if you want to party, 5-6 drinks in a day minimum. right? You're spending another $300-ish a day. So at the Ryder Cup, again, the food and the soft drinks and the snacks were all included. So I don't know. I've been speaking straight for like 9 minutes. What do you think of this? And do you have any ideas around things that selfishly I could add as a value add,
Yeah.
like the Ryder Cup did with the food, or any other kind of ideas that come to mind for any type of business?
A few things come to mind. I mean, one, I think there's a lesson for marketers and for sellers here, right? Your first point about it being in New York and knowing who you're selling to and what is quote unquote expensive to them, right? For a lot of people who've been listening to this show, know that I'm not just a podcast host. My career has been kind of on the sales side, on the marketing side. You decide which is the quote unquote dark side. I'll leave that to you, the listener. But my time on the sales side, one of the things that I learned is like, you can't go into a sales conversation, especially in B2B, and be thinking, man, I've really got to justify this price because I would never spend this money on this software or whatever this is, right? What's expensive to you is not always expensive to someone else. So you got to get your mind out of this idea of shopping with your own wallet. Right. When you're on the sales side, you can't be kind of projecting your own views of what's expensive, what's valuable onto your ICP. So I think for the sellers listening to this, that's the lesson. For marketers listening to this, make sure that your sellers aren't doing that. If you're listening to gong calls, if you're listening to fathom calls of your sales team, where are they not necessarily presenting the value, or where are they kind of acting a little sheepish around the price? So that was the first thing that I thought about with it being in New York, and that being a contributing factor to, yes, we can do this and we can communicate this price increase confidently. One of the things that the Ryder Cup maybe has, above others is it's like it didn't happen last weekend, so people aren't necessarily looking at the last price versus the new one. So, they may have had
Mm,
an easier time with that transition.
good
But number
point.
two is, kind of what you talked about in your third point of it's a value add, but this is actually something that was a value add in not only it being all inclusive, you don't have to worry about your food budget, but the experience was better. When you said that about like the line moving so fast, I was like, oh,
Mm,
dude, I didn't even think about this. Like you had kind of given me a preface to this story of like, hey, let's talk about this. And I was like, okay, like the first point that we just talked about, I'm like, I get that. I didn't even think about just the customer experience being improved on the back end. And so the other thing here is like, what can you add that is going to be valuable to your customer or your client that doesn't cost you too much more to produce or to deliver, and how does that impact not only their perceived value but overall their experience? Is it something that can make it smoother? Is it something that can help them see quicker time to value? Is it something that can make them look good in front of their boss if you're selling B2B, whether you're an agency or a SaaS company or some other sort of professional services, any of that? So those are the things that come to mind. And I think your example of like the landing page analogy is great because you've got something that's highly valuable, but it doesn't necessarily cost you a ton in order to produce that new and A B test that, because the cost to you is kind of already been, you've already paid that through all the time that you spent initially building it, testing the different variations, coming up with this bulletproof template. I was thinking about in my own business, right? We do webinars as a service for B2B brands, and we do everything from the content strategy to designing the landing pages, our own version of the S2, like you do with your clients, to producing the webinars. And for one client, they were like, oh, well, hey, I'm going to go be a guest on these other webinars. Do you have any ideas for me? I was like, well, I could spin up a lead magnet for you that has a high converting landing page and has the lead survey behind it so that we could funnel people to convert and book calls with you that way. To me, it was basically kind of repurposing their webinar funnel for a different lead magnet funnel. And I'm able to offer that to one client. So now I've been thinking about like, hey, could that just be a value add similar to your example with setting up the landing page versus clients that don't get that? So those are a few thoughts and applications in my own business for what it's worth and where people could maybe draw some parallels.
I love that. I love everything you just said. To your point, the experience, right? It's not just, okay, what's another thing that you can kind of throw in to say, okay, this is how we justify the price.
Yeah.
right? But how can you actually make, once you're inside the gates of the Ryder Cup, or once you're a client of the agency, or you're a user of the software, or you're a customer of the product, whatever it is, how to make that experience better? Because if it was, I mean, for me personally, if it was $1,000 to go for the day and I had to pay extra for food, I would have paid. I don't care. I love the Ryder Cup. That's my hobby. Everyone needs a hobby. Everyone spends money on hobbies. Great. But for most people, if they showed up and it was $750 and it was the same experience that they had 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I guess in America, 4 years ago, um, when they paid, 1/3 the cost, they might not be so inclined to come back, but the experience was better. Like, I can't say exactly that it was better because I wasn't at any previous Ryder Cups, but a lot of people said that, and a lot of people did notice that it was much faster to get the food.
Right.
But the other thing was the analysis paralysis. So like when I'm at Coachella, they have like 50 different food options. Do I want a lobster roll? Do I want dumplings? Do I want a burger? Do I want kebabs? Like they have all these different things. It's like, oh, I don't know what I want. Oh, I don't know what I want. And then, oh, I'm going to get the one that I don't necessarily want as my first choice just because the line is shorter. But at the Ryder Cup, they only had one food option. They had it multiple places around the 2,000 acre property, however many acres there are. But it was called the market, and they served the same food and the same snacks at every single market. And so you could just walk up and you got it. So you didn't also have the analysis paralysis or the super long lines of choosing which one you wanted to go to. And so I love that. Like, how can you make the experience better once you're inside of the gates, or once you are the customer, the client, or the user? How can you do that, but then bring it forward in the customer or client journey to the sales process to further justify the cost or the increase in cost? Because as everyone says, the number one way to make more money as an entrepreneur is just increase your cost, right? Or increase what
your
you're charging.
prices. Right.
Increase your pricing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good breakdown of how the
We're
Ryder
talking
Cup.
golf and marketing. This is just, for those of you who aren't golf fans, hopefully it was still valuable for you. If so, make sure you hit like, you hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening or watching. If you want to see Max and I, geek out on not only golf, but marketing every week, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We got, growing viewers there, and love to see everybody there. So this has been fun. Only thing that was missing was your Ryder Cup hat, but you still had, Masters hat. So you're in the ballpark today.
Well, I guess if you've made it this far in the podcast, the last thing I'll say is I have a Ryder Cup poster, and I have some more sports themed memorabilia. I'm changing my background. I got a fancier camera. We're leveling up the 10-minute marketer here. So go ahead and click subscribe if you haven't already, and share this episode with a friend, because we bring this to you for free. So we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Max show. It takes me and my team hours to produce it every single week, but it only takes you 15 seconds to hit that share button and text it to a friend, drop it in a Slack group, or share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of your favorite social platforms. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my content. Have an awesome day.